Welcome back to the SwimSwam podcast and our 2023 U.S. World Championship Trials coverage. Yesterday, we brought you our event-by-event breakdown and picks for the U.S. Trials on the women's side. Today, we're bringing you our event breakdowns and picks on the men's side. I'm Coleman Hodges. I'm joined by Yin Lee. Let's start with day one. Conversely, from the women, the men's 200 fly is there's actually quite a few contenders, I think, in this one. Yin, give us your lay of the land on the men's 200 fly, day one, first event of the meet.
I actually don't think there's that many contenders in this meet to me. Picking out who's gonna get top two was pretty easy. I have Carson Foster winning and then Gabe Jett getting second. I could see Trenton Julian maybe being in the conversation, but he's just swam really inconsistently recently. Just at short course World, he wasn't that great at Worlds or Nationals as well, and I think both Carson and Jet have just looked a lot stronger. And then I don't really see Luke doing anything here because he's been out of the water, out of competition for so long, and he was at that Sun Devil meet, but didn't really do much there. I just don't think he's gonna have enough time to recover and come back.
I think I have the same two picks. I have Carson and Gabe, but I do think there are a few more people that have legitimate shots. I think there's the Louisville duo of Zach Harding and Nick Albiero, who have both been 156 in March. And I think both have great back halves. And if someone has an off race, I think they both have the potential to run people down, especially someone like a Trenton Julian, who is known for taking it out really fast. At that same meet in March, Trenton Julian was 155.7 and Chase Kalish was 156.0. That was a crazy fast meet. You had five guys under 157 in the two
That
fly
was the
at a
Fort
pro swim.
Lauderdale meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that meet was really fast.
it was. And Ilya Karun won that with
Yeah, yeah,
154.4, which
154.
he's representing Canada. So he's not eligible for our trials, obviously. But I think any of those guys do have a good shot. If Carson decides to swim this, I'm really curious to see if he actually swims it at Worlds, if he qualifies, just because we haven't seen him swim other individual events on an international stage, senior international stage, aside from the IMs. And so adding this third event, it would be the same event schedule as Leon Marchand. You would have that double, I believe it's the two fly final, followed by the 200 IM semifinal
Yeah,
on day
yeah,
five, day four or
something like
five.
that.
Yeah. And so I would be interested to see how Carson reacts to that as well. But I think if he decides to swim this on day one, he has a great chance of qualifying. I think Gabe Jett's had a great season so far. He was 154 low at Nationals last summer. I think it is his time.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna take 154 mid-ish range to qualify.
Well, I mean, I think this is perhaps the deepest the men's 200 fly, the U.S. men's 200 fly has ever been, where we've got a handful of guys that have been 154 and not just one or two. I'm pulling up our event preview here just to see some of these guys' lifetime bests. I mean, so you've got Carson, Trenton, Chase, Zach Harding, all have been 154s. Albiero's been 155, and then I'm sorry, Gabe, Trenton, Chase, Zach, and Carson. So it's five
Yeah,
guys who
yeah,
have been 154 or better.
yeah. And I remember in 2021 it was only two people, Trenton Julian and Zach Harding who went 154. Like Gunnar Bentz, he made the Olympics with a 155, and like that's not happening this year.
I sure hope not.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it would if we had two guys go 153, I think that would be fairly paramount. I know that's asking a lot, but Carson's been there. If we could get one more guy to dip into that territory, that would be really exciting for the state of the event.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
100 free is next.
Mhm.
Again, this is going to be a barn burner. Yin Yin, I'll
Yeah.
let you start on this one.
Yeah, so I did the preview for the 100 free and I had Held winning, Brooks Curry getting second, Dressel third, Shane Casas fourth, Hunter Armstrong fifth, and Jack Alexi in sixth. And that's a lot to unpack. And the interesting thing is, I actually had Dressel lower than third. I actually was considering putting him in fourth or fifth just because I don't see anything that screams at me, oh my God, Dressel's back. Because I'm coming to this meet assuming that Dressel's not gonna be in the shape that he was in over the last 5 years when he was America's top freestyler. But then on the other hand, I don't think he's gonna be bad enough to not even crack the top six. So I think somewhere around third, fourth, fifth, is probably a happy medium. And I think that 100 free is the quote unquote worst out of all of his events. So I think it's gonna be where he's the most vulnerable. So I see him not winning, but qualifying on the relay spot. If Curry has just looked really solid in season. Held had a to me had a breakout last year with his relay splits and the way he stepped up for the country, and I think he has more in store. Shane Casas had a really good national swim. Hunter Armstrong has also looked really solid in season. He's been 52 multiple times in the 100 back, and I think he's been 48 in the 100 free, and he trains freestyle more often than he trains backstroke. So I think that training's gonna pay off just like from seeing how he's been swimming in season. And Jack Alexi is just someone that I think has a lot of potential with the fact that he's always been a better long course swimmer than short course swimmer. His turns haven't been great, but he went that 48.6 as an 18-year-old trials, and he's just gotten so much better in yards. Like he went 40.8 in the 100 free in yards, has just become one of the best college swimmers despite being known to be a long course swimmer. And I think that's gonna translate given how good he already is in long course. So those are my picks and those are my explanations.
Yeah, I think those are good picks, and I think it's really hard to give some context. There are 8 US men currently who have been 48.8 to 48.7. So they are all within two
Yeah.
tenths of each other. Eight, like that's a whole entire heat of themselves, and that's not including Brooks Curry, who's been 48.4, who's number
Mhm.
one in the US. That's not including Justin Ress, who was a part of this gold medal winning relay at World Champs last year. That's not including Shane Casas, who I believe was in the final last year as well in this
He
event.
didn't swim last year, but he went 48 to nationals, which I think was the third fastest time of 2022.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so
Fourth fastest, fourth fastest.
he I like there's and that's not including Caleb Dressel. So
Mhm.
that's like 12 guys right off the bat that
Yeah.
all have a very legitimate shot at making
Mhm.
this team. So it was hard. I'm agreeing with you in your assessment of Caleb, but I think it's going to be a little more, I think a little bigger for his 100 free in that I had him outside of my top 6 because I think he will. This is under the assumption that he swims at trials. I think it always takes him a little bit to get into meets. I think the 100 free is his weakest event. I think he'll have a decent 100 freestyle, but I think there is enough depth in this event where I think there will be other guys ahead of him. I I think Held and Curry are really safe picks for 1 and 2, and that's what I had Held winning and Curry at number 2. But it's like I think they've both looked really good. I think Held was having some stability training at ASU now. for a couple seasons. I think he'll look to get back into that 47 flat start range as well. And then I had Hunter, who's looked great this season, Jack Alexi, who had a great short course season, and I think he can actually be better long course. And then Shane and Matt King as my 5 and 6 picks, which I'm shaky about because I think a lot of different things can happen. But
Yeah.
I do think Caleb will make the team. I think they will put him on a. I think they'll see.
Prelims?
I was about to say it, and then I was like, will they? I think they will. I think he'll make the team in 2 other individual events. And then I think they will assess where he's at training camp. Maybe he does do a prelims relay. I mean, maybe that's a good thing for him mentally. I don't know. We have no idea where he's at, but I think he swims this relay at Worlds in some capacity. I don't think
Yeah.
he's top 6
Yeah, to
at
me,
trials.
it's more like this guy used to be able to throw down 47s wherever. And it's just hard to believe for me that 1 year is all it takes for him to not even finish top 6. Because what do you think is gonna be 6th place at trials? Like, what time do you think is gonna finish 6th?
All right, so let's look back. Again, last year at trials, and again, I think it's worth noting that trials was at the end of April last year, so it's a little wonky timing wise. This year, it's a much more traditional end of June situation. Justin Ress was 6th place last year at 48.3. I think it will be faster than that. I think 48.2 or 48.1 will be 6th place.
I think Dressel can squeeze in a 48 too if he's tapered right now.
I do.
But then, yeah,
I'm not doubting it, and it would not surprise me if he gets. I hope he gets top 6. I think that'd be great. But just from the lack of information we have on him, and just knowing how he moves through, seeing how he's moved through meets in the past, 100 free is always the weakest. Like, and I'm referencing also the 2018 Summer Nationals when he had an
yeah,
injury prior to that, and he was out of the water for a bit. He like snuck in for, I think he got 6th or 7th of that meet with around I want to say 48.6. So we've also gotten a glimpse at what Dressel looks like when he's not on form. And I think every time he's done a 47 or a 48 low swim, even he's been on. And I just don't think he's going to be on necessarily at the beginning of this meet.
I think it's crazy how we've already gone through so many names for this event, but there's also so many other contenders who we haven't even mentioned. Like Johnny Kulau, he came out of nowhere this year. He's ranked 2nd in the country. Kai Winkler, with his age and his upward trajectory, those two are all really interesting contenders as well, just because this is kind of what I was talking about with Anna Peplowski yesterday. This is their first time coming into a meet where they kind of have a shot at making the biggest international team, and that kind of stuff puts a lot of pressure on these swimmers, and will they be able to handle it?
Agreed. And yeah, for my picks for this, I just went with experience over naivety, for lack of a better term, or lack of experience, because I just haven't seen what Johnny Kulo has done consistently.
Yeah.
I haven't seen what his ASU teammate Patrick Salmon, who is that last guy who's been 48.9. I haven't seen what he's done consistently this season, long course, or just in the past. And so, yeah, ASU could legitimately put 3 or 4 guys on this relay. Like there's a chance of that happening. I don't think it will, but like if ASU doesn't get one guy on this relay, I would be a little surprised.
Yeah.
Just because I think they have a really stout freestyle group at this point.
I mean, it's probably going to be held on the relay, and that's their ASU guy.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I think I wasn't even thinking of him when I was talking about that, but yeah, I think Held's a very solid lock for this one. Okay, last event of day one, 1500 freestyle. The race is for second, I think, at this point,
Yeah,
unless Fink
yeah,
totally lays an egg. I think Bobby
yeah.
Fink, the defending Olympic champion and world silver medalist, gonna get this one done. We had Charlie Clark as the number 2 pick. He qualified last year in this event. He's ranked second in the U.S. I don't really see any reason to think someone is going to dethrone him, or I don't see a big argument for that, at least.
I think Will Gallant has a chance at getting second, and I actually picked him for second. Because he had a really good national swim last year. He broke 15 minutes for the first time, went 14:57. And then he had a really good swim at NCAAs. He won NCAAs, broke 14:30, and that was a really big swim for him because I don't think he's ever been under 14:30 before. And Charlie Clark, on the other hand, he had a really good trials last year, but then he added a lot at Worlds, didn't have the greatest short course Worlds either. So I think this leaves him pretty vulnerable coming into trials this year. I think someone like Gallen just has a lot of momentum right now, and I see him taking the second spot here.
I think Will Gallant's a solid pick. I don't think 14:28 is going to convince me totally that he's ready to top Charlie Clark, especially when his best time is 6 seconds off of Charlie's. But it's a mile and it's only one heat, so I do think there's a more possibility for variance in that format.
Yeah, I'm just not very confident that Clark is gonna go 14:51 again because he went 14:51 at trials and then he didn't break 15 minutes at Worlds. And then at short course Worlds, he'd finished seventh and eighth, which I feel like as an American in that race, I feel like people expected him to swim faster, and he didn't have. He's a better long course swimmer than short course, but he didn't have the best NCAA season either. So there's just not much upward stuff trending in his direction.
See, for me, that what you just said, minus the NCAA's, is upward trajectory. Like his first international meet for Team USA, he makes the team, and then he doesn't replicate that swim, which I think is normal, but he gets the experience of going to a world champs. Short course worlds, he makes the final, which is progress. Like that's him growing as an international swimmer. Um, and then he adds time, or he gets a lower place in finals, but he gets that final swim under his belt. So to me, that says, okay, he's growing as an international swimmer. He's going to be a little more prepared for this trials, and he's going to know what it takes to not only make the team, but also hopefully, make that final in Fukuoka, maybe even challenge for a podium spot. Although I'm not going that far because that's a really hard podium to make at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm sticking with Charlie, but I hear your argument. All right, day 2, 200 free out of the gate. Once again, a loaded field. Yeah, Yin Yin, give us your take on this one.
Yeah, once again, I did the preview for this event, and I had Drew Kibler winning, Kieran Smith getting second, and then my next two picks, Carson and Luke Hobson as third and fourth, and then my last two were Jake Mitchell and Gabriel Jett. And to me, the top four for this race are pretty obvious. I think Carson, Luke, Kieran, and Drew have it locked up. They're the only swimmers that have been under 146, and they've all looked really good recently or had really good swims last year. And I went with Jake Mitchell because I think he has a lot of momentum right now. He dropped 2 seconds in this race last year. He had a pretty good NCAA season at Florida after not really being super good in yards when he was at Michigan, and he's just looked a lot better. He has great closing speed as well in this race, and he's just looked a lot better overall. And then Gabriel Jett, same thing. I'm pretty sure he set a best time or was very close to his best time. This season he's been 147.4, and I just think he's due for a big drop. In this event, like Jake Mitchell, he had a great, probably even better than Mitchell, um, NCAA season. And to me, it's again about trajectory. And there's so many people in this race. I think there were like 8 or 9 guys that were faster than what it took to make worlds last year. And to me, Mitchell and Jet just have like the biggest upper hand right now. But there's also other swimmers like Jake McGahee, Grant House that are also in the conversation.
Yeah, I was surprised when you had Trenton Julian as eighth. Um, Especially because he was on this relay last year and his best is 146.6. But I think he's split faster than that from a swing. And
Yeah.
he's been 147 this season. He's definitely in my top six. But for the most part, I agree with you. I think Kibler has looked great this season. He's already been 145 from a flat start. When I was at Carmel, I think this fall, he seemed like he was in a great place. He seemed really happy training there. And so I think he's gonna win this. I actually have Carson coming in second. I think he's going to have a big two fly on day one. I think if he swims the final of this, he's going to throw down a big swim. I don't think he'll swim it individually at World Championships. And I've got Luke Hobson coming in third just because he's coming off a great NCAA season as well and has proved that he can translate that to long course, especially in the 200 freestyle. Well, I'm curious to see how his 400 is at this meet, but the 200 freestyle, I definitely think he's going to throw down a big swim. I have Kieran at fourth, so making the team, but not that individual spot, even though he's already been 146.8 this year. I think it's going to be a close race. And then, yeah, for fifth and sixth, or sorry, I had Trenton and Gabe at fifth and sixth. Again, I think Gabe's going to have a breakout meet as well and make it in the two fly as well as this 8 free relay. I'm not sold on Jake Mitchell as that spot, but I think you're right that it's going to be tight for final spots and it's going to be tight for those top 6 as well.
Yeah, with Carson, I wrote in my preview, I said that I'm picking Kibler and Smith to go top 2 just based on track history and based on how they've looked this season. But if there's anyone that's going to disrupt that, it's Carson for sure.
Yeah, which those were the top 3 last year at
Yeah.
trials. Smith was 45.2,
Mm.
Kibler was 45.3, Carson was 45.6, and then it dropped off by over a second. Julian was fourth at 6.6, and then Kobe was 6.8. Trey Freeman was 6.9. What do you think it takes to get top 6 this year? So it was 146.9
Mm.
last year.
I don't think it's going to be a whole lot faster because people add time and stuff like that. But I think maybe 46.7, 46.6. That's probably a good number.
That's what I would guess too. I would think 145 mid, and I think this is another event that the depth for the US has
Mm.
really grown, and as we see this event growing worldwide, with Huang Sunwoo, with David Popovich, with Tom Dean and Duncan Scott, with people regularly throwing down 144s and faster, like now we're actually seeing that depth kind of trickle down. And I think we'll be 146.5 for top 6.
Mm.
Just because we gotta compete with the world.
Yeah.
All right. 200 breast. Well, again, I think this is going to be an interesting one, but I want your takes
Yeah.
because maybe less interesting than I think.
Yeah. For the 200 breast, originally I had Matt Fallon making team, but he broke his back early on, and he's looked solid. This year he's been 211, but I think he's more vulnerable in this race than I thought he would be entering 2023. I definitely think he's gonna make Paris, but I'm not really sure about this year. But I do think Jake Foster gets his first international berth in this event. He's looked really strong. He's been 2093, which is he's the fastest American this year by over a second. Um, and then for the second spot, I'm between Nick Fink and Matt Fallon, and I think Nick Fink just comes on top because of his experience, because of how good he's looked everywhere else. I do think he's putting a little bit more focus on the sprints and more than he has in the past, but I think he takes it this year, but Matt Fallon makes it over him in Paris.
Mm. So looking at Worlds last year, Fink was 208.8 to qualify. He tied with Charlie Swanson at trials. And then at World Champs, he was 210 in prelims, 209 in semis, and 209.0 in finals to get fifth. I don't think that's gonna cut the cheese this time around. So I am also high on Jake Foster, and I'm gonna pull for Matt Fallon. I think he had that great swim at trials, and then he did not replicate it in finals. Last year he did not go to trials because he had school conflicts. He is coming off of injury, but he's already been 211 this season, and I think I'm high on him. I think it's his time to have a big swim, and especially because this is just prelims finals. I think that plays to his hand a little bit. I also agree Nick Fink is more focused on the sprints, and I just think even if he's training for the 200, I think naturally with age his 200 is just not going to be there as much anymore, especially as much as those younger guys. And Foster's breaststroke has looked incredible lately. And I think Matt Fallon's going to use is going to Nick Fink and use his patented back half to make a big charge and touch for second.
I don't know, we'll see. I'm just very hesitant with this injury just because I feel like a back injury is a lot. I mean, I've never swam with one, so I don't really know what that's like, but it just seems like a lot.
Yeah,
So we'll
I
see.
I agree, but
Like
I
I
mean,
want him to make the team, but I'm just not sure.
it seems like he swam fine
Hmm.
in early June, so like 2 weeks ago. So like I feel like if he can throw down a 211
Yeah.
in early June, then I have
Yeah.
faith.
For me, it's like if he throws down a 209, that still means he looks good. But if I feel like he needs to be a 208 low or 207 at trials. For like, if you told me he went that time, I would be confident that he made the team. But he's going 209 or 208 high, then I can see someone like Nick Fink competing with that.
Agreed. And it took 208.8 to make the team last year. It might 208.8 might make the team this year again. Just
Yeah.
because, especially compared to the world, this is not one
Mhm.
of our deeper
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
All right, 200 back.
200
I
back.
don't think there's a lot to discuss here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
think
had, yeah,
Ryan,
Ryan and Shane.
yeah. Um, Carson Foster swam this at the tier pro swim at Westmont. He was 156.9. I don't think he'll swim the tuner free, so it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and Daniel Deal has been 156.5. So he could becoming Keaton Jones and Ian Grum were both 157 lows in season. So there have been some swims that's kind of like, okay, all right, all right. But I think if Shane's on, that second spot is his for the taking, and I don't
Mhm.
think anyone's going to touch
Yeah.
Murphy.
Yeah. Last year, I would have said that Jack Aikens is up and coming, but he hasn't had the greatest year. And I do think the gap between him and Shane is still really large. So, yeah, I don't see it happening.
Agreed. And the last event of day 2 is the 50 fly.
The 50 fly.
I think Michael Andrew wins.
Michael Andrew. Yeah. Yeah. If since we're so skeptical about Dressel and given how close the race between them was last year, I think MA wins this one just because of how good he is with the 50s.
Agreed. Caleb won last year in 2284. Michael
Yeah,
was
but it
second
was
at
very
2287.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Maxime was third. Maxime Rooney was third, but
He
he's not swimming.
retired.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be Michael. I think Caleb will use this race as just kind of getting more reps in. But I don't think anyone,
Yeah.
Mike, I think Michael's focusing on sprints this season, and when he does that, he goes really fast. All right, day 3, starting off with the 400 IM. Is anyone going to touch Carson Foster and Chase Kalish?
No.
So I think that's it. We got
Yeah.
you got Bobby Fink, you got Jay Litherland as competitors, but am I missing anyone who has a legitimate shot?
Kevin Vargas went 411 last year, but I don't think he's gonna come close to them.
Yeah.
Last year, I would have said I think Bobby Fink is gonna be up and coming, and he could challenge Chase Kalis this year. But after seeing how Chase is swimming at ASU and the time he went at Worlds last year, 407, I do think that 4 a.m. spot is gonna be his for a little longer.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget last year at trials. Oh, sorry, this is prelims. I was like, wait, what? This isn't how it ended. Carson won 493. Chase was 410.50, and Bobby Fink was 410.57. So he does have that closing speed. Kayla's just got the stellar breaststroke leg. So yeah, I think it could be a close race, but I ultimately also agree Carson and Chase for the dubs. 100 fly. Lots of intrigue here.
Yeah. I think Shane Casas wins this one and Dressel gets second. This is an event where I think Dressel is going to be better in than the 100 free. It's probably the event where he's looked the best in this season with his 52 mid swim at the Atlanta Classic. I don't think he's beating Shane just cuz Shane has been really strong this year, but I think he gets second. And if he doesn't get second, if he has a really bad swim, then Dare Rose makes it. And I've been high on Dare Rose since I made those Olympic picks. But yeah,
Yeah. So Dare has already been
Dare, right.
51.47. So it seems like he's got a shot, and that was just
Mhm.
last month. I mean, I think Thomas Heilman could also do something pretty big here, but I'm with you. I think Caleb will be well into his meet at this point and qualify for second. I think Shane looks great, and if he can put it together, if he's already got the 2 back under his belt, I think he'll have some confidence, and yeah, I think he can absolutely capable of winning this one. So I'm with you. I think there are competitors, but I think Shane and Caleb get the job
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
All right. 50 breast. Michael Andrew.
50 breasts. I think Nick Fink, defending world champion.
All right.
Yeah, I
Let's
think this is
see
Nick's race.
let's see US rankings. So this season we got Mike MA has been 26-8. Nick Fink has been 27-1. So they're very close. Tommy Cope has been 27-4. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's there.
Go ahead.
I said he's up there.
Yeah. So last year, MA was 26-52, and Nick Fink was 26-55. So MA got the touch by 3/100ths as an American and US Open record.
Yeah, and then Nick broke it at Worlds.
Nick was 26-45 at World Champs. He got the dub. Michael Andrew was 26-7 for the bronze. But I still think MA.
All right then. It's gonna be close, but I think Nick gets it.
Yeah, I think that will be a great race regardless, but I don't think anyone besides those two is going to get it. 50 backstroke. What are you thinking,
Hunter?
Union?
I'm thinking Hunter Armstrong. I know Justin beat him at Worlds, but you don't bet against the world record holder, especially after the in-season swims that he's had this year.
Hunter Armstrong has been 24-3 in season. Justin Ress has been 24-4. Oh, that's close. I have Hunter too. But I think Justin Ress is primed to have a great meet here as well. I think the 100 back is going to be one of the best races to watch on the men's side. Just because of you have four like really heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hunter has just looked sensational this season though. So I'm with you. Okay, day 4. 400 freestyle.
400 free. I have Kieran and Jake Mitchell, and Kieran, the 400 has always been his event, his bread and butter. He did great at Short Course Worlds. He's won this event for the last 2 years. And then Jake, it's honestly the same argument that I had for him qualifying in the 200. I just think he's bound for like a redemption swim after last year, and he's been 345 before. He knows how to swim fast when the lights are the brightest. And he's just looked a lot better this year than he was in the past. And he had a great nationals meet, and yeah, I think McGahee could get in the conversation as well, but I think Jake Mitchell out touches the other Jake M.
I had Luke Hobson for my second pick. After the NC2A season, I think he's going to have a great long course meet. Like I said, I think he'll get third, maybe even second in the tuner freestyle, and I think he'll get second here behind Kieran. But looking at the results from last year at this meet, I did not remember that Kieran won with a 346.6.
Yeah, then, kind of a slow winning time.
That's not great. I guess it's not that bad either, but Kieran's already been 348.0 this season. Jake Mitchell has been 349.9. Luke Hobson's been 351.7. You got a couple. Jake McGahee's been 350. Kobe Carroza has also been 350, which he just did last month. So yeah, I think Jake Mitchell's a really solid pick. He's looked good. He made the Olympics in this event. I think he will have a bounce back meet. But I think Luke Hobson's gonna ride his momentum as a buzzword you've been using. And I think he gets it. But yeah, it should be a good race. I hope someone goes a 345. I would love to see Kieran go 345. I think that'd be a great sign.
My question about Luke Hobson is he went his best time 349.9 when he went 146.1 in the 200 free. And this was at US Nationals. And that leads me to believe that in long course, he's not as good in the 400 as he is in the 200 and even the 100. In the 100, his best time's a 49.1, which I think is better than a 349.9. And you saw with at NCAs, he was trending more towards the shorter distances. He swam the 100 instead of the mile. And I think in long course, that's going to be even more prominent. I just don't think the 400 is his race in long course as much as it is in short course.
I agree with you there. But since then, he's also gone 145 in the 200 freestyle long course. I think he did that at Duel in the Pool.
Yeah, doing the pool.
And so I think his 400 has a lot more room to grow. And so I'm being optimistic, but I agree with you full-heartedly that the 200 has been his better event long course up until this point. Trending downwards in short course events usually is not super helpful to that 400-meter freestyle.
Yeah.
Even though we saw Kieran Smith at the end of his career swim 100 free at NC2As, so it's like, we'll see. I think Luke Hobson is still very solidly that mid-distance swimmer, and so I think we haven't seen his full potential in the 400, and that's where my head's at. But I agree that your analysis is apt.
Yeah. I just don't think 349 from last year, where he went one of his best 200 times, equates to like suddenly dropping 3 seconds, because I think he's gonna have to do that if he makes the team.
Agreed. Yeah, but 407 at NC2As looks pretty good. So we'll see. All right, 100 breast. I don't think.
Yeah. I
Think an
actually
MA.
think I
Oh,
actually think well, I think Nick's gonna make it, and I think
hmm.
Josh Matheny is gonna take that second spot because
You and the
MA,
commenters.
yeah, MA, I think he has enough in him for the 50s, but the 100 breast, so what, 100 might be a little too much for him. I think if if there's a time for another breaststroker to suddenly um claim his spot on an international team, the time is now. Because I mean, we all saw what happened to him at Worlds last year. He didn't handle didn't handle the double well. He didn't do very good at short course Worlds. I don't really know what's going on with him, but he just doesn't. I remember Braden said something about how he doesn't really seem as focused on his swimming right now, and I kind of agree with that. And he has enough raw natural talent to excel at the 50s, but the hundreds, when it's an event with a lot of stamina, I don't see him making it. And I think someone else takes his place. And I think that's Matheny.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think Matheny goes, and what do you think Michael goes
I
to
think
have Matheny make this team?
Michael goes around his season best. 59 high, 59, maybe a 100 if things are really bad. And I think Matheny has another drop in him. I think he's gonna go 50, 58 high. Cause he swam that 59.4 at US Nationals after having not a good NCAA. So he didn't perform up to expectations at NCAAs in 2022, but he had a really good NCAAs this year. He finished fourth in the 200 breast, 150.1, broke 51 for the first time in the 100 breast, had a really good relay swim, set personal best across the board, and he just looks a lot better. And he's really young. I think he swam that 59.4 as a teenager, and he's just, yeah, he has a lot going for him. And I just think the 100 is a little long for him.
It's a gutsy pick. I mean, I think Josh Matheny could have he's primed to have a great meet.
Yeah.
I do not see Michael Andrew. He's already been 59.9 this season. I do not see him. I agree with your assessment once again. MA does not seem laser focused on his swimming, which I think is totally fine, by the way. The dude's an Olympic champion. After everything
Yeah.
he's been through in his career, he's an Olympic champion. And then even not seeming that I mean, I know you said he didn't handle the double well at Worlds last year. He didn't do great in his hundreds. He got ninth in the 100 breast and semis. He won 3 individual medals at those world
Yeah, but they were
championships.
all
His
in
first
fifties. They
no.
were
His first world championship individual medals ever. So even though like that's progress. That's the first time he ever won a medal individually on a long course stage, and it was 3 of them.
still fifties.
Yeah, but
If
he's still
he
okay, sure. He went 58.5 at trials last year. I
I
don't see him having already been 59 this season, like messing up his taper that much or doing whatever to where he can't he doesn't go 58 something. And I think that'll be enough to get him second.
I
I mean,
feel like
that's
if I say any more, then the commenters are gonna come for me for being an MA hater or something like that. But I don't know. I just I just have a feeling.
and okay, time will tell.
Time will
But I
tell.
don't think he's gonna fall that far off, especially at a trials meet where he is only swimming fifth. Like he has less swims than he will have like at a world championships. And he won't have doubles. And it's prelims finals and
Did he
but
medal? Did he medal the 100 fly? Because if he did, oh, I
at
think
worlds,
he was close to medaling. He was close to medaling. Okay, I was partially wrong about him only doing well in the 50s, but yeah, he only medaled in the 50s.
yeah. So he did get fourth in the 100 fly by less than 2/10. So I mean, he was if he went 2/10 faster, he wins a silver medal in the 100 fly to Christoph Milak. 51-1 100 fly, not bad. But anyway, all right, that's the 100 breast. Sorry, that's the 50. No, that is the 100
Yeah, that
breast.
was
100
in the
back,
100.
100 back. Last event of day 4. I think this is going to be such a good 4-man race. Give me your picks on this one.
I think Hunter wins it after seeing how he swam last year, after seeing how he swam this year in season. And then for second, I think Ryan Murph does take second in this, but it's gonna be more competitive than the 200 back because you've got Shane Casas who's went 52.5 at sectionals, Justin Rest 52.7. Daniel Deal is knocking on the door of that 52 53 second barrier. Um but ultimately I do think Ryan Murphy and Hunter Armstrong come on top. They're training partners. They know what each other are doing, and they've been the top 2 Americans this year. They were the top 2 Americans last year. And I don't think anyone's disrupting them, but I can see someone having a good swim in this race to the point where we're all thinking like, oh my god, like if he was from another country, he would be so good and like compete at worlds.
I mean, that's what happened last year at trials.
Yeah.
Armstrong was 52.2, Murphy was 52.4, Justin Ress was 52.7,
Yeah.
and then Shane was 53.0.
Yeah.
So they were all kind of, they were close.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a really close race this year. I think this is kind of the year where I think will be Armstrong and Murphy in that order, but this is kind of someone's chance to dethrone Murphy or
Yeah.
to have him left off the team if he's not really on, which there's no indication he won't be. He's already been 52.9 this
Yeah.
season. He looks strong. He
Yeah.
looks good. Hunter has had an incredible season, but if Justin and Shane are really really balling out at this meet, like I think he is vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. But he's
All
gonna
right.
qualify for the 200 regardless, so I don't think he's gonna miss the team entirely.
Agreed. Yeah, I think there's zero chance Murphy does not make the team, but I do think there's a slight chance someone
Mhm.
can step it up in the 100.
Mhm.
Last day of the meet, 800 freestyle. I have Bobby Fink, A Fink, and David Johnston.
I actually had Bobby Fink and Michael Riniger making the team. Michael, I didn't realize he went 7:54 at a pro series meet until before we started recording this podcast because that's really fast in season time for someone not named Bobby Fink. And Michael, he didn't go to trials last year. I think he focused on open water, but he went pro and he's been really focusing on long course um ever since. And I think he just has like he just has like that training, and I think he changed training backgrounds. He is swimming in California now. I think he used to swim at
Ohio
Indiana,
State.
Ohio State.
So yeah, he swam collegiately at Indiana. Was kind of back in. He like took a red shirt and then like went back to Mission Viejo to train with
Was it Mark Schubert?
Mark Schubert. Thank you. Then went back to Indiana for a year. Went back to California to train with Mark Schubert. When Mark Schubert went to China, he went to Ohio State.
Okay, yeah, yeah. He's looked. I think that in season time is really strong for him. He made the Olympic team a couple years back, and that was when he set his best time of 7:49. I don't think any other American has been under 7:50. So I think this year is his time to get back on the senior international team in pool swimming. But then also you've got Charlie Clark, who's been 7:55 and he qualified last year, so he's gonna be in the mix as well. But ultimately, I think Michael takes the second spot behind Fink.
So interesting how much in season swims can affect how we make these picks.
Yeah,
Because dang, David Johnston is only 10th US man. Well, ninth this season at 8:04. However, yeah, 7:54 is an excellent in-season swim. He's only
mm-hmm.
half a second away from Bobby Fink's best swim in season this year.
Yeah,
David Johnston broke this American record in short course meters in Australia at the way beginning of this season / end of last season. He had a really solid NC2As. I think he's due for a big break in some event, and I think having not qualified for the team up until this point at this meet, I think he's going to have that chip on his shoulder, and I think he can do it.
I think
But
both the 800, 1500, that second spot's going to be such a toss up. And I feel like it's just changing every year who we think is going to make the team.
right, yeah, I mean, we saw Brinegar make the sweep in 21 at the Olympic trials. We saw Charlie Clark make the sweep last year
Yeah.
at US trials. I think this is the first time since that 800 has become an Olympic event that we could see some variance from the
Yeah.
mile to the 800.
Yeah. I think this year's going to be that year where we're going to have a different guy qualifying in the 800 than the 1500.
Which I personally would like to
Mm-hmm.
see, just because we get to see more people swim and more people on the team.
Yeah.
All right, 200 IM.
Is there an argument against Carson Foster and Shane Casas in whatever order?
I think you could argue for Chase Kalish. I it's Chase is very consistent and Shane is less consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
understand that, but Shane has just looked so strong this year and last year, and I don't know. It would just be very disappointing if he didn't make the team in the 200 IM because I think that's his best event.
it would be disappointing, especially because he opted not to swim this last year at
Yeah,
trials.
yeah,
So it's just like, wait, what?
yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah, and so, but yes, I think if Shane and Carson swim it, they're the 1-2 punch. No one's
Yeah.
Chase. Chase was 156.2 at trials last year. And I think Carson and Shane can both go faster than that at
Yeah.
this trials, but
Yeah.
that could feasibly make a team too.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
50 freestyle.
50
What do you think?
freestyle. I know I talked down on MA for the 100 breast, but I do think the 50 free is his best event. And he's one of the best in the world in this race. I think he makes it, and I also think Dressel makes it, because this is one of those events where Dressel can be at 80% and he still can comfortably qualify this event because he's been 21-0. The next fastest American not named Michael Andrew, their best time is around the 21-8 range, and there's just a lot of room there, and I think he can qualify as well.
Yeah, those are my picks as well. I think MA wins it. I think Caleb, after making the 100 fly, he's finally found his rhythm. He's always great in the 50 freestyle. I think he'll get
Yeah.
second in this if he swims at the
Mhm.
meet. Yeah, no one else is just in their sphere in
Yeah.
this event. And like you said, they have wiggle room. So even if they're not perfect
Mhm.
and someone else is perfect, I still don't think that's gonna be enough to bridge the gap.
Yeah. Yeah. I think overall there's less argument about who's going to make the team on the men's side than there is on the women's side, because really I think the only two races where the picks aren't super clear are the 100 free and the 200 free, whereas on the women's side I feel like there was a lot of back and forth about who's qualifying.
Yeah, there's certainly more contenders, I think,
Mhm.
than on the men's side. I I really hope Shane has a big trials meet.
Yeah.
He's I think he's due for one. And we'll see who else kind of has that breakout meet. I think for me, I think it's going to be Gabe Jett and Luke Hobson, but yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an exciting meet. Yin Yin and I will both
Yep.
be in
We will both be
attendance
there.
in Indianapolis. So stay tuned for our full coverage from Indy of those 2023 US World Champ trials. We will see you there.